This illusion is one of the classics of magic, dating back more than 100 years. The magician enters and examines this empty four-legged wooden frame. From the round top, he lowers a chain. Next, his beautiful assistants wheel in a clothing rack filled with costumes, though most of their wardrobe could probably fit in a coin purse. One of his assistants makes a selection, a suitably seductive two-piece number and a pair of heels. The magician now hangs the costume from the chain as his assistants bring in a large hooded cloak. Kind of an extreme contrast in clothing, but whatever. I'm sure it's part of his plan. As they attach the cloak to the frame, a ghostly mannequin head is introduced. Creepy. Once the cloak is in place, the magician sets the head on top of the frame. The cloak's hood is pulled up and over the head, and the assistants spin the entire frame. How about that? The mannequin has transformed into another beautiful girl, dressed in a sexy two-piece. That's one way to find a date for a Saturday night. But there's a secret to how he did it. So, how did the magician use an empty frame, a sexy costume, a large cloak, and a mannequin head to create a beautiful assistant? The secrets are incredibly simple. As the assistants wheel in the clothing rack, the girl who will materialize secretly sneaks in, hidden by the costumes. While the magician is busy hanging the sexy outfit on the chain, his assistants prepare to bring him the large cloak. They hold it open so that it will hide the girl's path from behind the wardrobe rack to her next hiding spot, behind the frame. Once the assistants out front have closed the front of the cloak, the girl can slip inside the frame unnoticed. But what about the costume the magician hung inside the frame? The hollow base of this unit is constructed with flexible rubber pockets to hide the clothes. As the two assistants are adjusting the cloak, the girl inside is busy hiding the duplicate costume and shoes in the hollow base. The mannequin head is placed on the frame and the hood is pulled into position. The hood secretly contains a wire frame which allows it to hold its shape when the girl inside removes the head. From the side, you can see the head removed, while the hood stays upright. The girl quickly hides the head in a secret pocket sewn into the cloak, then hides a wooden plug in the base, leaving a space for her to stand up for her glamorous appearance. The two assistants quickly remove the cloak with its gimmicked hood and secret pocket, and all attention focuses on the appearance of the lovely lady. Once again, the women do all the work, and the magician gets all the glory. Now for a trick that involves almost no preparation or special props. All you need is a volunteer, a pad of sticky notes, and a pen. The magician tells his volunteer to think of an object to sketch on the pad. He tells her that he'll be able to duplicate the drawing magically, no matter what she chooses. He hands her the pen and pad and tells her to draw. He even turns around so he can't see and places his hands behind his back. Even though this is his assistant, she's not in on the trick, so this trick will work with any random volunteer. Look at that, a heart, how sweet. She folds the drawing as instructed and places it in the magician's hand. Now, he convinces her that his magical powers of ESP are about to go to work and tells her to concentrate on her drawing. He turns around and attempts to read her mind. Oh, if only he could. He rubs the sticky note and turns around when he thinks he has the answer. He hands her back the note, still folded, and takes the pad and pen. He'll now attempt to draw the same object she's drawn just by reading her mind. Let's see how good he really is. He asks her to open her drawing and she reveals the heart. He then turns the pad around to show what he's drawn. How about that? A perfect match. So, did the masked magician really read the innocent girl's mind? Of course not. There's a secret. He asks the girl to draw a picture on the pad of sticky notes. The pad is one of the secrets to this trick. The sticky backing is essential. When the magician turns his back, the volunteer places her folded sketch into his hand. What you didn't see was a blank folded sticky note hidden in his other hand. When the magician turns around to tell the volunteer to concentrate on the object she drew, he sticks her drawing to the column behind him. He turns around to face the column, being careful to hide the sticky note from her view. In his hands, he holds the folded blank note, which the volunteer will assume is her drawing. While she's busy concentrating on her object, he's sneaking a look at her sketch. Once he's memorized it, he turns around and secretly removes the note. He folds it back up and exchanges it for the pad and pen. He duplicates the object he saw in her sketch and then reveals it to her. Whether it's a simple heart or a number or letter, it's easy to recreate when you know the secret. The magician will now attempt to trap a spirit using nothing but this ordinary, bright-colored handkerchief. An accessory no well-dressed masked man should be without. He shows us that there is nothing on either side of the handkerchief, except for the chic and stylish pattern. He places the handkerchief down onto the table and magically summons a spirit. Do you see it? Of course not. Spirits are invisible. But just to make sure it doesn't escape, the magician folds in the corners of the handkerchief, trapping the invisible spirit inside. But I still don't believe there's a spirit in there, so he's got some convincing to do. And what's that? Look what just popped up. Maybe there's something inside after all. Better calm it down before things get out of hand. Nope, this little guy wants to come out and play. He's gone, and I bet he won't call in the morning either. So that's how you play around with spirits. So, did the magician really trap an invisible spirit in his handkerchief? If you think so, you might be enjoying some spirits of your own. Of course, there's a secret. Aside from the obnoxious pattern, this seems like a very ordinary handkerchief. But in the magician's warehouse, nothing is ordinary. Secretly sewn into one corner of the handkerchief is a small wire rod. When he presses down on the end of this rod, it makes the handkerchief pop up and appear as if a spirit is trapped inside. Take a look at how harmless the gimmick really is. Just a thin piece of very stiff wire. At the corner, the wire has been bent at a slight angle. This bend gives the magician the leverage he needs to make the wire rod lift the handkerchief. Once the corners are folded in towards the center, all the magician has to do is locate the bend with his thumb and press down. The rod does the rest of the work. Ah, if only everything worked this easily. When he removes his right hand, he rolls the tip of the rod around with his left, convincing the audience that there is definitely some hanky-panky happening underneath the handkerchief. And that's how he captures a spirit. No one knows that gaudy fabric is hiding a tiny little rod. The magician will now attempt a timeless classic, the floating zombie ball. He starts with this brightly polished chrome ball. With some magical gestures, he casts a spell over the ball, and then casts a black scarf over it. Suddenly, the ball begins to rise. The magical spell is causing the ball to float beneath the scarf. And now, it comes up for air. The ball rests on the edge of the scarf, then dips back down for another spin. He pulls it back, but it always seems to want to fly away. Better put it down before somebody loses an eye. Wait, now he's made it disappear. Or so we thought. It takes flight once more. Then he's able to convince it to take a rest. The zombie ball, one of the most popular tricks in all of magic. Okay, how did the magician make the shiny ball seem to float beneath that magic cloth? You know there's a secret, and this one is simpler than you might imagine. At the beginning of the trick, the ball is sitting on the pedestal and the magician covers it with a black scarf. Instantly, it begins to float, but not under its own power or some phony magic spell. The ball is actually supported by this black metal rod that's hidden behind the cloth. One end is attached to the back of the ball, the side you never see, and controlled by the magician, who secretly holds the other end in his fingertips. When the cloth is in place, he manipulates the ball by manipulating the rod. Wherever he points the rod, the ball will follow. With the cloth hiding the rod, it looks like the ball is floating under its own power. He can even make the ball rise above the cloth, as long as he doesn't let the rod show. From this angle, we can see how he makes the ball momentarily disappear. He simply points the rod backward, alongside his arm, and hides the ball behind his back. Covered by the cloth, he can slide the ball back out to the front and let it magically reappear. Once more around the room, and now you know the secret to the world-famous zombie ball. Popular extreme magicians have been making themselves float through the air as proof of their unusual, freakish powers. Tonight, the masked magician joins them. He's made his way to the top of his secret warehouse and intends to demonstrate the extent of his unique abilities in broad daylight. As you can see, he's completely alone on the roof, and there are no visible wires or hydraulic lifts around to aid him in his attempt to levitate. Watch carefully, and let's see if he's as good as the street magicians who claim they can do this for real. Wow, he's floating off the roof. Well, it certainly looks like he's floating, but that could be an illusion. Let's watch some more. He's now hovering over the building without any visible means of support. This actually does look pretty freaky. He's floating in midair. It's effortless. Maybe he's just thinking happy, wonderful thoughts like Peter Pan. He couldn't possibly be thinking about the 3-story fall to the concrete below. As we can see from the back, he's not wearing any kind of James Bond jetpack. These incredible angles show a complete view of the magician and the area around him. He's achieving the impossible. Watch now as he begins to float down toward the earth with nothing above and nothing below to help him accomplish this trick through devious means. And there he is, safe on the ground. We just saw the masked magician climb to the roof of his secret warehouse, rise up and float effortlessly through the air without any visible means of support. These incredible angles show a complete view of the magician and the area around him. This feat is truly a miracle. Or is it? So how does the magician rise up off the roof and float through the sky like a superhero? The secret may come as a bit of a surprise, so I'll let you down easy. He doesn't have superpowers. He's not even in control of his own flight path. The man in charge is right here, sitting in the cab of a 50-foot crane. Dangling from the top of this crane is a set of very thin aircraft cables, the same kind used to make Peter Pan fly on Broadway and in theaters across the country and around the world. Concealed beneath the magician's jacket is a specially designed harness that has been used on stage for decades. Before the trick begins, the crane operator lowers the cables down to the stagehands who attach them securely to the harness. Once they're double and triple checked, the magician is ready to fly with the greatest of ease. But why don't we see the cables suspending him in the air? The secret is the bright sky. Remember I said he wanted to show you his power in broad daylight and that there were no visible wires? That's because the glare from the bright sun and sky makes the wires impossible for the cameras and even the human eye to detect. From the proper angle, the brightness of the sky blocks the cables, making them invisible. From this angle, you can see that the camera can pick up the wires, shattering the illusion. While demonstrating his supposedly magical abilities, we saw the magician alter his flight pattern with nothing above or near him. The secret here involves moving the crane. In between shots of the magician in the air, the crane was repositioned to allow the operator the freedom to fly the magician in different directions. Clever editing of the various angles makes it look like he's flying around the parking lot. The most difficult part of this trick is lowering the magician to a soft landing. How about that? It is done with wires after all. Here's a trick that's common among street magicians. It uses a seemingly ordinary everyday object. After some minor league dumpster diving, the magician finds a crumpled soda can in the trash. Looks like someone doesn't recycle. No matter, the magician plans to do a little recycling of his own. A magical gesture and a shake to prove the can is empty, and how about that? The dents disappear. Well, most of them do. Still, pretty impressive. Another magical gesture, and the magician attempts to pull the tab and break the hermetic seal. Wait, I thought that this can was empty and discarded. We'll just see about that. A nice cold beverage, anyone? That's how you recycle a soda can by magic. But we all know there's no such thing. First, the masked magician selects what appears to be a discarded soda can. Before the trick began, the magician secretly prepared this ordinary can. Using a very sharp knife, he makes a tiny puncture in the can and outsprays the soda. The magician releases just enough soda to create an air pocket inside the can. Before all of the liquid can escape, he seals the hole with some waterproof tape. Next, the magician covers the pop top with a small circle of black paper. From a distance, the black disc creates the illusion that you are looking into an open and empty can. In reality, the top is still factory sealed. Finally, the magician carefully bends the can, creating the impression that it's been crushed and discarded. A stagehand places the can on top of a pile of phony garbage, and the illusion is ready to begin. To perform the trick, the magician picks up the can and gently shakes it. Here's where paying attention during science class comes in handy. Shaking the can causes the gas bubbles inside to build up pressure. As the pressure increases, the air inside the can expands and causes the dents to pop back out. Next, the magician secretly removes the disc of black paper. Revealing the factory seal on the top of the can is untouched. All that's left to do now is flip up the tab, break the seal, and pour out the remaining soda. It looks convincing, but when the masked magician is around, you can bet it's not the real thing.